Hello aspirants, welcome to another session of the daily newspaper analysis. Aspirants, from today we are going to start a new initiative, that is short videos of important topics. So from today you'll be viewing this on the YouTube channel. So please look at them. It will be very informative in quick time. Okay. So when we look at the topics that we are, this is something about me. Okay, you can follow me on these social media handles. Something about the today's topics here. Okay, today's topics are very important. See, daily in the editorial newspapers there has been this 75 years of Indian independence. There has been some special articles, so please follow these special articles and the editorials that have been mentioned in the newspaper. These will be week-long edition. Okay, so moving ahead. So firstly, we are on the front page was this news where African cheetahs still stuck in the transit. See, India has been trying to relocate some of the Indian cheetahs. Cheetahs have been extinct in India since 1950s. The last cheetah that was found in India was extinct in 1952. So this cheetahs, okay, the cheetahs will be reintroduced in Kulho Palhar National Park, that is in Madhya Pradesh. Very important news. When we look at what is the issue here, see this cheetah reintroduction. Okay, the initially under the Supreme Court guidance, the Asian cheetahs were to be brought to India. But later on, this Asian cheetahs, the plan was dropped because when you look at it, the data that is given here, only less than 100 population of this cheetah is remaining, and that too it is in Iran. That is why Supreme Court later on directed the center to relocate the African cheetahs. Okay, so right now the cheetahs that are coming to India are from Africa. These African cheetahs are coming from the countries of Namibia and South Africa. Okay, when we look at the data that is given here, the African cheetahs are much more in number, that is around 6,500 to 7,000 of cheetahs are found. The physical features is that it is bigger in size compared to the Asiatic cheetah. And when we look at the IUCN status, very important, okay, IUCN status, the African cheetah IUCN status is vulnerable, whereas the Asiatic cheetah is critically endangered. Fine. So this is some of the information. So how many African cheetahs are coming to India? It is 35. Okay, 35 number of cheetahs are coming. So here what you have to understand here you have to understand the difference between African cheetah and Asiatic cheetah, where this cheetah is being relocated, in which national park, as well as what is the IUCN status of African cheetahs. These are the only things that you have to note down. This is another article that has come in today's Hindu Explained section. It talks about understanding ethanol blending. See, recently the Prime Minister announced that India has achieved 10% of this ethanol blending. Firstly, we have to understand from where do we get this ethanol blending. See, this ethanol that is there, it is coming from the processing of sugar from sugarcane. Okay, or when we process sugarcane to obtain sugar, we get ethanol. It is a byproduct. Okay, it is a byproduct. So this ethanol is being blended with what? With petroleum. Okay, it is being blended with petroleum, that is added with petroleum here. Firstly, we started with 5% of ethanol blending, and right now we have reached E10%, that is 10% of blending. But Niti Aayog, okay, Niti Aayog has the target of 20% of ethanol blending by 2025. What are the uses of ethanol blending here? See, this ethanol blending, when we look at, it brings down oil imports by 85%. That is, with this ethanol, okay, it is being added with petroleum. The quantity of petroleum is coming down here with this 10% and 20%. It will reduce the usage of petrol as well as reduce the oil import here. Also, it increases the farmer income. Why? Because the byproduct here, that is ethanol from sugarcane. Okay, sugarcane, this can be a byproduct which is a waste. This can be sold by the farmers and it can increase the farmers' income as well. Globally, when we look at it, the highest ethanol blending is achieved by Brazil here, that is 27%. What has been the issue here? See, there have been some issues regarding this ethanol that is coming from sugarcane, as well as some of the ethanol that is coming from rice husk. Okay, rice husk. See, right now we have 2G plants. Okay, there are 4 generations of ethanol blending plants. Okay, we are in 2G. Okay, we have just achieved the 2G. 2G here means what? That the ethanol that is coming, it is coming from the food products. Okay, it is coming from the food products. So there has been concern of food security here, that is the farmers may try to grow more of these ethanol crops, that is rice and sugarcane, which may drain, okay, which may drain the other food products as well. That is what the argument is here. Another argument is that when you consider the crops of like rice and paddy and for example paddy and sugarcane, these are water intensive crops. So what may happen is when these crops are grown in large number, there will be depletion of water resources. There may be depletion of soil quality as well. These are some of the concerns that have been raised in this article, and you have to understand what is ethanol blending, what is the current capacity of India, which country has the highest capacity of ethanol blending, as well as the 4G ethanol blendings that we have. Okay, moving on. This is another news that has come out of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This is a good news where the child mortality has dipped to 35 births per 1000 births. Okay, whereas the global average is around 39. So this is a very good news coming out. Okay, so along with this news, the government has launched another initiative called as Palan 1000. What is this initiative? This initiative is to focusing on cognitive development, that is the thinking ability of the children in the first 2 years of their life. Fine. So to improve this child mortality rate, the government has already launched some of the initiatives like Janani Suraksha Yojana, Shishu Suraksha Karyakram. Okay, these two are what? These two are providing for safe delivery. Okay, safe delivery both in the case of normal as well as C-section. Along with it, these two programs are providing for some of the benefits like early medical care, okay, free transport, meals, okay, hot cooked meals during the time of pregnancy. These are some of the initiatives taken by the government to bring down the child mortality. Also, this is one more initiative that was launched in 2018. That is my initiative, which is Mother Absolute Affection, which is trying to improve the breastfeeding. Okay, so these are some of the initiatives taken by the government schemes that to bring down the child mortality here. Please remember what is the global average in child mortality. What is India's present condition? Okay, according to the report that has been released. Also, please remember the schemes that have been brought out to reduce the child mortality. Also, this new scheme, Palan 1000. Okay. Next, moving on. See, this is your new freight train. Okay, that has been launched. Super Vasuki. Okay, this was done by who? This was done by the Southeast Central Railway. It is the longest freight train in India. So what is the news here? The Super Vasuki conducted its first trial and it was a successful trial. This Super Vasuki carried around 27,000 ton of coal here. From where to where did it travel? It traveled from Korba, that is Chhattisgarh, to Nagpur. Okay, so very much important news here. Super Vasuki. What is Super Vasuki? It is a freight train. It is a train which carries goods. It is how much long? It is 3.7 kilometers long train. Okay, and it carried how much tons of coal? It carried 27 tons of coal. From where to where did it travel? It traveled from Korba to Nagpur here. When we look at the world, okay, in the world, the longest freight train is Australia's BHP Iron Ore. It is 7.3 kilometers long. Okay, so additional information for you all. Moving ahead, so this is another editorial. See, as I mentioned earlier at the start of the video, that since we are celebrating the 75th year of independence, there is a lot of insights that has been coming out of this of these 75 years, as well as what we have to do in the next 75 years. So this is related to the science and tech. Here the editor, okay, is talking about what has been the condition in the 75 years when it comes to the science and tech field, as well as what has to be done. Here, most importantly, the author is concentrating on the solutions as to what has to be done. Firstly, he is talking about increasing the R&D budget to 4% of the national GDP. Currently, we are spending around 0.7% of the GDP. But when we look at bigger countries here, like South Korea, China and all, they are spending around 5 to 6% of the GDP. So here the author is urging for the government to increase the overall budget when it comes to research and development. But also with it, the author is telling some other things, that is, so when this budget is being increased, the micro level planning as well, The micro level policy changes have to be made as to how much and where these budget have to be used. Like, see, when this budget will be allocated, when the budget will be increased, building of physical as well as intellectual infrastructure is very much important, is what the editor is talking here. Secondly, the editor advises the government to implement processes to accommodate large budget. Okay, see, what does the author here means is that whenever a large budget is allocated to any institutions, there has to be proper mechanism, there has to be proper processes, there has to be proper method to accommodate. Accommodate means what? To include these big budgets for proper use, is what the author is talking here. He gives the example of PPP, that is public-private partnership. When this public-private partnership is included, there has to be a procedure to include the scientist research request. That is when this budget is being sent to any universities in form of PPP. Okay, PPP model is being used. There has to be a procedure to include the request of scientists as well as researchers as to how much of budget they need and in what form the budget is required for them, as well as there has to be a proper staffing, transparency as well as standard reviews, so that the budget that is getting allocated is not going in wrong hands and proper research and development is being done using this budget. Thirdly, the author talks about encouraging individual entrepreneurs as well as linking science with societies. Here, the best way to do this is by linking the common people with university labs. By what? As well as what can be done here, these labs, whatever the research are being done, they have to be taken to the common people. The labs that are being used to do researches, okay, whatever the research has been done, this has to be implemented in the society, is what the author is talking about. Lastly, the author talks about one important issue. See, when during discussing the first issue, here the author talks about increasing the budget, R&D budget to 4%. But where can India get this huge budget? Here the budget is about 125 billion or 10 lakh crores of money. From where India can get this? India can get this by cutting down the defense budget. India allocates one of the highest defense budgets in the world. So what the author is advising is to cut down the defense budget, because see, the next generation of warfare, it is not going to be a conventional warfare. It is going to be economic warfare that we have already seen in the case of US and China. Okay, so to have a robust economic system, it is important that we improve our R&D culture in the country as well as inculcate more transformational technologies in the economic field, is what the author is advising here. Fine. So please look at the article. It is very simple and please read the article. Moving ahead, there is one more article that editorial that has come up, that is talking about the ecological issues that is present in this country. So when we look at what are the issues step by step, firstly, the author here talks about the 90s, 70s and 80s when these movements, that is Narmada Bachao Andolan, that is your Chipko movement, were going on, and these movements forced the government as well to be active. Okay, to be active in the case of ecological development as well as ecological protection. But when we look at the present condition, nextly the author talks about the present condition under the earth under stress section. He talks about the different issues that the Indian population is facing, like 400 million Indians face world's extreme air pollution level when we look at the PM2 2.5 emissions, okay, as well as the air quality index. Okay, air quality index. When we look at these two criteria, India has most of its cities on the top of this list. So most of the population is facing extreme air pollution. Secondly, 600 million face extreme water stress. This is mentioned in the World Water Quality Index, where India ranks 120th out of 122. See, if India is ranking highest here, it doesn't mean that India is doing very well. Okay, the lower it ranks, the greater things it is doing here. Thirdly, it talks about land degradation and desertification are taking place over 30% of our land. So out of the 100% of the available land, 30% is being lost due to degradation and desertification. It is reducing what? It is reducing the carbon sinks in our environment. The more the carbon sinks are reduced in our environment, the more carbon dioxide pollution quantity will increase in the atmosphere, the more the greenhouse effect. Thirdly, lastly, talks about the average level of productivity has decreased. Okay, the production has increased, the land and the cultivation has increased, but the land productivity, the per area land productivity has come on going on decreasing here is what the author is highlighting. Nextly, he's talking about the environmental policies in our government. He is talking it in under the section of favoring corporates. Firstly, he talks about the obsession with economic growth treats the national environment as fodder to exploit. What he is telling here is that the government, okay, since when in the earlier he talked about in the 70s and 80s when these movements were going on, the government was active in protecting the environment. But now, okay, now the focus has shifted with obsession of economic growth. Okay, now the government is more involved in focusing on economic infrastructural growth, like one of the in the recent budget, okay, the allocation for road development is over 40 times than what it was previously. Okay, so such infrastructural growth, infrastructural growth is harming the environment is what the author is talking here. Secondly, the priority has shifted by building physical infrastructure that only disrupts the natural infrastructure here. See, this when these physical infrastructure is being developed in these forested areas as well as protected areas, what is taking the backstage, what is taking the back seat is your environmental protection laws, like your Forest Rights Act, your Environment Impact Assessment Act, your Forest Rights for Tribal Act. Okay, so these are some of the rights and acts that has been amended by the government to give primacy, to give priority to building infrastructure and not protecting the environment as well as the tribal population is what the author is talking here. Lastly, he talks about the 1991 economic reforms. See, the author here says that the turning point of these of this economic infrastructure development and giving a backseat to your ecology became a turning point during the 1991 economic reforms. After the 1991 economic reforms, what happened is that these multinational companies, they came to India and they started developing these economic infrastructure, and water quality, air quality as well as tribal population, they were displaced. Okay, these all ecological problems started once this 1991 economic reforms is what the author is highlighting here. Nextly, he talks about the extreme events. See, this year, according to one report, we had a report which showed that the monsoon temperature were highest compared to the summer temperature. This is an anomaly. Okay, this is a rare event that we have never seen. Also, the Lancet Planetary Health Journal report, it also highlighted one of the important issue. It says that 7,40,000 excess deaths India has faced over the years annually due to extreme temperatures. This is a wake-up call for the government here. These reports, these numbers show that the climate change is real and the government has to act fast. Nextly, they talk about enabling sustainability. Okay, the author here highlights that we can still grow by sustainable development. That is, sustainable development is without compromising the future. Okay, growth without compromising the future. So here the author has given few of the examples like your Vikalp Sangam program, the handloom weavers of Kutch, okay, the community-led ecotourism that has been done in Ladakh. Okay, so what these programs, some of the programs have showed that the economic growth is still possible by adopting sustainable methods. See, the sustainable methods, like we have handlooms. Okay, handlooms have been surviving in our country for many centuries. See, these all issues, these all things have helped us to grow sustainably. But the recent infrastructure that has been being built up, the physical infrastructure that is being built up, it is not sustainable, is what the author is talking here. Lastly, he talks about need mobilization. See here, what the author is talking here is that the mobilization should not be only related to the financial mobilization to fight the ecological damages. It is also the social mobilization. Social mobilization in the sense that not only the government should be active, but all the partners should be active here in protecting the ecologies. The partners here are not only the government, but also the NGOs who are involved in NGOs who are involved in environmental protection, the common people, the tribals. Okay, so everyone is a partner when it comes to environment, and everyone should be mobilized here to protect the environment is what the author is talking about. Okay, so that's it from today's newspaper. Do follow us on the social media handles. Do follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram as well as on Facebook. Thank you.